Waffle, waffle, waffle.
Hello and welcome to Die Rollin. I'm the ever excitable Adam, and today I'm here to waffle on about Uprising Curse of the Last Emperor. I'm going to move these out of the way so you can see my beautiful face. So Uprising Curse of the Last Empire is one of the best 4X games I have ever played, and it's also a game that not many people really know of, which I think is ridiculous. So on my Waffle Wednesdays at the moment, I'm basically doing bits of deep dive. So I'm looking into a game and I'm just kind of showing off a little bit of the components, talking to you about what I like about the game, what I dislike about the game maybe sometimes, and why I think maybe you guys should check this game out. Now, Uprising isn't new to the channel. This is the game that we did play. I think we played all 4 kind of chapters of once. We're going to be going back to the channel as soon as humanly possible, because this is a game that is definitely my top 10 games of all time. It is just that good. So without further ado, let us deep dive or shallow dive into Uprising Curse of the Last Emperor. And I'm going to start off by showing you this fantastic artwork. I mean, look at that, guys. Just look at it. Now, it's warning, this game is a table hog. I mean, already I'm filling up my table with various different things. But yes, this is a table hog, and trying to figure out how to film this best for you guys is tricky, because when we first filmed this, we did it from above, and above's fine because you can kind of see unit movement and stuff like that. But this game has acrylic unit standees, and they look beautiful. The artwork in this game is fantastic. The production quality of this game is amazing, second to none really. It's so good. So it feels kind of against the point of the whole game by not really showing you a decent angle. So we're trying to work out the best camera angles to really show this game off to you. Now, this is a 4X game. Now, 4X means, let's see if I get this right, exploit, expand, exterminate, and another X. I cannot remember what it stands for. But essentially what you're doing in these kind of games is you're building up your own kind of little army, you're managing your resources, attacking other players, and just expanding your kind of empire out. It's normally like an empire game where you have either, you know, a starfaring galactic civilization, you're going against other people, or, you know, you are... that's the only example I can think of. Or yeah, you've got your own kind of like civilization. You're trying to fight off other civilizations to become the best civilization after like 9 rounds or something. Now this one is a co-op 4X. Yes, a cooperative one. Now 4X games normally take a long time. This takes around, if you've got 2 players, 2 to 3 hours depending on how long you play this game for. The game only has 4 chapters in this, and you can, if you want to, you can play just 2 chapters and see who wins at the end of that. However, when I say who wins, I'm actually talking whether you cooperatively win or whether the board game beats you. Because in this game, you are only as strong as your weakest link. Whoever has the, you're only trying to beat the 2 victory point tokens for the 2 enemy factions in this game. So as long as everyone is above those at the end of whichever chapter you decide to finish at, you win the game. Now, I said it's a table hog, and it is because, so down one side of the table, you're supposed to have this, which is your chapter kind of track. Sorry, that way around. Your chapter track, it's got your quests on here and also some items up there. So this also tells you the whole gameplay of the game. Each kind of phase into a bit of detail. Doesn't go through combat on here, that's kind of elsewhere, but yeah, you go through all of this. So that's one side of your table. The other side of the table, you have the graveyards for both factions, as well as where you will put the kind of enemy kind of leaders and stuff. So that's down one side of the board. This is down the other. And then in the middle of all that, you have the gorgeous map itself, which looks a little like this. So a lovely kind of cyan hexagon there, with the victory points kind of tracker around the outside and some player aid stuff on there. So yeah, so you've got this, then you've got both those down the other sides, and then you've also got your boards for your factions. So it does start taking up a lot of space on your table, because the faction boards are kind of like that, and you'll be placing all your kind of all your units on here, and all your settlements on here, all your havens, and then you'll be spending kind of crystals to do these various different things on here. Now, you'll notice I have a lot of things around the board, because the table even, because I actually also have additional components to this game, because not only can you just play this game on its own, you can splash out and bling this up a little bit. So we have, for instance, faction trays, which I played with these, and it really just makes this game it's fantastic. You put your kind of hero character here, you've got all your resources there, you can put like your kind of item stuff here, cards in here. It's very good. It's definitely it's not, you don't need this to play, but it's a really helpful kind of addition for when you are playing, because yeah, it just helps you organize things a little bit. Although, to be fair, the kind of design is so well done that you don't really need any organizational help, because it's everything is in front of you. But yeah, so you can buy these deluxe faction trays to really kind of like, well, help the game stand out a bit more, I guess, on the table, although the game stands out perfectly well. Hi, welcome back. Not only do you have each kind of player faction has their own special weaknesses and strengths, and their units listed on here, and the units are all different, by the way. They also have a story on the background, story in the back for their kind of like their background, who they are, where they came from, why you should care about this faction, why you want them to win. So 4 of these kind of factions, and they're all really interesting, that have good kind of synergies with each other. You also have some player aids in this game as well, which is fantastic, because you do need a little bit of assistance the first couple of games you play of this, specifically with the combat, what order things happen in, and also when you are spawning enemies and moving enemies, because it gets a little complicated unless you play this game a couple of times. I say it's a little complicated. It's not really that complicated. It's whenever you play a game for the first time, you need to play it a couple of times to really get the grasp of this. So the rulebook itself is a lovely little kind of binder here with, as you know, I love with kind of rulebooks when they have all the iconography on the back, and also, yeah, it's just fantastic. It just tells you the components and stuff like that, so you're like, right, what is this again? Oh yeah, it's that. Furthermore, you have faction trays. So this is a game that knows you are a person who wants to store your games properly, so you have got a great kind of game trays in here, which basically really help you out with setup and teardown. This has got everything I need for a faction in it. I just need to grab that. I need to grab the faction board, a couple of cards from in here, and I'm ready to go with a faction. It really helps you speed things up, especially when this game, like I said, for like 2 players, it's 2 to 3 hours. If you're playing 4 players, it can be up to 4 hours. I think maybe even 4.5 hours when we were playing the very first game of this with 4 of us, because yeah, there's just a lot to take in and a lot to kind of do. But yeah, so the actual acrylic standees have some really lovely artwork on there. Every faction has 2 heroes, and at the beginning of the game, you're basically going to choose which of the 2 heroes that you want to play as. Then each of the different factions have their own different kind of unit types. So these guys have like a huge war elephant, for instance, whereas the other people have, what else do they have? Some people are really good with archery. Yeah, it's just a ton of different things. You always come with your kind of victory point marker as well. And you have these little havens. These are your little settlements. What's fantastic about this game as well, like I say, it has fantastic table presence. When you have one of these little kind of havens, there's an option to actually build walls around your haven, and I'm going to show you what they look like. You build walls. You can build towers. let me show you what that looks like, because honestly, it's one of the neat little cool things about this game, and it shows you why I think this is a game that you need to see, not from above, but from like an angle. So here's my regular little base there. I can build some walls around it, so now it's fortified. And do you know what? If I want some archery defense there, I can add a little tower to it. This is just lovely. I absolutely love this little thing here. The enemy factions in this game, there are 2 enemy factions. So the general plot of this is, which by the way, there's a huge plot in this. The general plot, from what I recall, there was an emperor, and he's running this kind of empire, and most empires are horrible, horrible things. And he basically uses some dark magic, ascends to godhood, and these gates to the Chaos Realm open, and all these monsters come out and basically start destroying the world. You are on an island, the last island that is left, because the rest of the world is in ruins, and you are playing various different factions who are uprising against the last empire to basically take over the place. And firstly, you're fending off the hordes of chaos that are encroaching from the outside inwards. And secondly, you're trying to defeat the remnants of the empire who start from the inside and move out. What's fun about this game is the chaos enemies and the kind of empire enemies will fight each other, which, you know, it feels like it's a good idea, because you're like, well, you know, they can wipe themselves out or we consolidate power. But every time they destroy people, they get victory points. And like I say, you have to make sure that however many people are playing, everyone has their victory point marker ahead of the highest victory point marker, well, both the victory point markers of the other kind of enemies. If anybody has their victory point marker at the end of the game lower than at least one enemy, then everyone loses together. So that's the 2 factions, these chaos kind of guys who have some really interesting kind of abilities. They have tentacles that come out onto the ground. They kind of burst through the ice, and they stop anyone from being able to like build stuff on there or explore things. The Imperials have a really fancy garrisons, which you basically build upwards like so. I mean, you want to see that. You don't want to see it from above, guys, right? Like that's fantastic. You get a few of these on the game board. It looks so cool. So that's the Empire and the kind of bad guys. The bad guys and Chaos, they're all bad guys. There's a ton of hexes in this game, so everyone has a kind of starting hex, which has your faction on the kind of like back, and then it tells you the name of the place, what resources you can get from being in there, and all these tiles have different terrain types as well. So depending which terrain you're on, you get bonuses or disadvantages. And I really like the fact that everything in this has a lot of theme kind of put into it, a lot of kind of plot details. And when you're reading these out, so they start on the board like this, you flip them over, and they all start off with a little kind of flavor text, followed by the name of the tile. So you have to read it out. Innumerable secrets hidden in the ancient battlefields of the Haunted Hollows. What's also pretty nice is you'll notice there's like a red skull on here. Now, for your very first game, you just remove all these red skulls out of your kind of game, and it makes it easier for you. I played this game so many times, and it has been close every time between the Imperials, the Chaos, and whoever's playing the game. Adding these in adds a lot of variety into it, and it can really change your game. I don't think any game of this has ever been the same. Every time I play it always feels very, very different. So that's the kind of the tiles. The artwork on these are absolutely gorgeous. They have they tell you on the back what resources you can get from there as well. So if your particular engine you're building does really well with like kind of mortar and stuff, the red kind of bricks in this, then you know, oh, I'll pick up some more of these, and you can always trade in additional resources for different resources. All the artwork is fantastic in this game. It's gorgeous. The table presence on this is insane. This is one that I've sat down to play with at a board game cafes, and people have just been coming over, keep asking, what is this game? Because it looks amazing. We love dice on Die Rollin. Well, guess what? These guys have brought a ton of custom dice into the game. So they have various strengths as well, and there's cards in here which tell you what strength you're going to be getting from different dice. So sometimes you're going to be trying to do quests, and the quests will require a certain amount of skulls or a certain amount of shields or lightning bolts. So you'll decide how best to approach that, because you might be like, well, my character has a bunch of purple dice, and the purple dice has all the lightning bolts on. So it makes sense for me to go after this quest because there's much more chance I'll get some benefit from it. Whereas someone who's, there's one which has got lots of skulls, your character might not be able to do the skulls. So you talk to the other people at the table and say, well, you know, if we want to get some quests and some bonuses and stuff, then yeah, someone should do this that isn't me. So that's the dice. The dice are fantastic. There are a ton of dice in this. You can pick up additional dice boxes as well, so you have more dice. And from from how I played this game before, having 2 sets of dice is the best way to play this game. It's you have one person rolling for the bad guys, one person rolling for the good guys on their turn. So this game is played over 4 chapters. Chapters themselves come in the form of chapter cards, and each one has, on the back, it tells you which kind of like, which chapter it's from. Once again, they have some red skulls on, so you remove those red skulls at the beginning of the game. And they also interact with the board, spawning new enemies on the board, and also setting their health limit for the game. So in the very first chapter, the health might be quite low. As it goes forward, as it goes on through the game, health gets higher. You really do have to keep an eye on the enemies and keep them down, because if you let chaos steam ahead in one chapter, then it can be really hard getting them back down again. What's nice though is they tend to in each chapter it tends to have one kind of force come out, and the next chapter is the other force. So it's kind of like toing and froing there, really. Lovely artwork on all of these again. Your character cards themselves, so I mentioned there's 2 heroes. So you've got a double-sided card which represents your hero, telling you which dice they have at the beginning of the game. Tells you a bit about their plot as well. So at the beginning of the game, you choose one of these, which side you like best, and that's going to be your kind of character of the game. The enemies come in all shapes and forms, but you basically start the game with a deck of Imperial Legion cards and Chaos Horde cards, and when you're spawning new ones down, you're going to flip them over, and it tells you who you're coming against. You're going to set a little tracker against what kind of health level they're at, and some of these have special abilities that when they come onto the board, they do things. The Imperial Legions tend to target a specific player, depending on their rules when they come out, whereas a Chaos Horde tend to just be trying to get into the middle of the board. Also spawning skeletons, and when you get 3 skeletons together, you get another one of those tentacles appear. So for every tentacle on the board, the Chaos Horde get victory points, so you really do have to try to keep those kind of down. You also have quests as well, which I mentioned. So quests are pretty interesting because you basically get a couple of these per chapter. So I think that's 3 or 4 or something. And it tells you what you kind of do. It's got like a nice kind of like thematic thing there. But then it's got these 3 different kind of symbols on here. And there's a number just here that tells you how many of these you have to achieve to actually do the good effect of this card. If you fail, you'll do the negative effect of this card. But some of these will be like, oh, you just need to score one of these things. So when you look, you've got shields, skulls, and lightning bolts. So if you were to roll all your dice and you manage to just do the shields and the solve was 1, then it means you do the positive effect here. But if it was solve for 2 and you only get 1 of them, then unfortunately, you get the negative effect happen. And also you'll notice under them, they sometimes have a special effect. Like this one has, you may draw a new quest card. So this is pretty good because you can do this quest, get a positive effect, which 1 Legion or Horde loses 2 threat, which is their hit points. And then you draw another card out so you can do another quest. And also, there's special kind of terrainal location stuff at the bottom. So depending on where you are, you might be more able to fulfill a quest. So you get additional dice depending on where your kind of guys are placed. And there is a ton of quests in the base game and a ton of enemies. If you play this game several times, you are going to come across the same enemies, but most of the time they are, between each game, you're going to have different enemies to come across. And I've played games of this where we get the Mage Breaker come out, who's this huge, like, spider kind of creature. And it teleports to these things called sea towers, which you can teleport between, and destroys them. And, the first game that comes out, you're like, oh, this is a bit of a beast. Later games you play it comes out again, and you remember that time you fought it on this particular battlefield, and it's great. It's one of those games that it kind of builds a story as you go through. You have your own kind of internal narrative of, oh my god, it's the Mage Breaker, not again, or the Executioner, that, oh, not the Executioner. You have a lot of interesting interactions with the kind of enemies in this. The game also comes with like a ton of item cards as well, so there's a market in here. You can spend your hard-earned resources on getting special kind of equipment that will help you in battles or help you with kind of resource gathering or various different kind of effects in there. So lots of things there, like a ton of item cards just in the base game. Every faction has their own feat cards as well. So every chapter you're drawing a new feat card. So by the end of it, you have a ton of options and you've got a decent engine you built up of things you can kind of trigger. It's definitely a game that you need to play twice to really get the most out of getting synergies between your cards and stuff. The Imperial and Chaos Legions have their own victory point trackers which go on the board along with your own. You move them up at the end of every round to see where you are, who's winning. And what's really handy as well is you can actually spend your resources, like every 5 resources you spend, you can increase anybody's victory point tracker by 1. So there's been several games I have won by just everyone pooling their resources together to help the player who's in last place really move above and beyond the Imperial and Chaos Legions. So that's everything really for the base game. I don't think I'm missing anything. There's a Druid cards that come out every chapter as well, and the Druid cards, they do special things and have special effects, and when you roll lightning bolts in your combat, they kind of they'll trigger specific abilities, which is great. I mentioned resources, so in the base game you get these lovely game trays which you can put all the resources into, and they're just cardboard tokens at the moment. And you also get these kind of red crystal things which are your action points. And that's pretty much everything you get in the base game. The rules won't take you too long to kind of get down, if I'm honest. But it's one of those games that the more you play, the better you get at it. It's definitely one that you might be worried that someone would play an alpha player for this game and tell you what to do on your turn. But all my experience of this game, I've never really seen much alpha playering happening. It's not, I wouldn't be concerned about an alpha player for this game. It's a really thematic, fantastic dive into a really interesting world setting. And this is the first game these guys have done, but you would not know it because it is so well made. It's so well thought out. It's clear they've played a ton of 4X games before. They know what they're talking about more than I do. It's just a really lovely, well put together game. It fits nicely in the Calyx as well, which you wouldn't think. So that's the base game. I already showed you the faction trays you can get and also the additional dice, but hey, that's not all. You get a lovely deluxe components add-on as well. So if you like to deluxify your stuff, this is the thing for you. It has wooden components for all of the different resources in there. A metal first player token. In the game when you are playing with the Imperial units, they have their own kind of cardboard tokens. They've got plastic tokens to say who their target is. And you've also got some additional stuff for the expansion, for the Nemesis expansion, which I'll go through in a minute. But yeah, rather than the cardboard little kind of things you get out for that, you can draw these out. You also have the chapter marker as well there. So rather than moving a cardboard thing across, you can move this. I actually prefer the cardboard thing because it encompasses everything you're doing in the chapter, but it looks cool anyway. And some lovely metal kind of Imperial and Chaos activation tokens, which you'll be placing on the units as and when they're going to activate. Because sometimes these Imperial units and Chaos hordes can actually activate multiple times in a turn, which can really scupper your plans. This next little add-on, lovely. Good little bag here, but I think that's from a different add-on. Me compiling everything together. So I mentioned the tentacles that sprout forth from the ground. These guys got some painted miniatures for the game. Look at that. This would be great in Shadows of Brimstone to replace the tentacles you have in that. So yeah, you get like a bunch of these like tentacles that you can just replace the base ones in the game with those instead. Doesn't change the gameplay at all, but it certainly makes it more enjoyable to play and the look and feel of it. So the first expansion they brought out for this game was the Arch Nemesis expansion. And what this does, it basically replaces the very final kind of chapter with a nemesis you have to face, or a big boss, because some people were playing this game and getting to the very end and feeling like, oh, it's a bit anticlimactical, there's no big kind of thing to finish it all off, I'm just trying to beat a victory point tracker. I think those people are crazy because the game is fantastic fun. I don't think you need anything else. But they listened, they came out with their own solution to this. So you get another rulebook in here, and the rulebook is so lovely because not only does it have, obviously, a little bit about rules in there, they have the artwork from the game in here. So if you're painting miniatures, you could just put this behind your miniatures and place them there. If you're taking photography with board games, this is really helpful. But it's just lovely to look through as well and see the world, the ravaged world that's left behind. It also has the entire story of this, what led up to the events of this, which is a really good read. It's a proper story, and yeah, fantastic. The rules for this, by the way, the rules are the first 11 pages of this. The rest of it is lore and artwork. That's great. So what else do you get in this? Well, you're going to be getting yourself a couple of new factions. By couple, I mean 4 new factions, including the last herd. And these guys basically, there's a herd token, they move around as one. It's fantastic. You've got these herd guys, you have like serpent guys, you've got lion hunters. By that I mean hunters who are actual lions. And they're like turtle people as well. And all these guys are on the artwork and the kind of quests and stuff that are in the base game. So when you've played the base game a few times, you get these characters out and you're like, oh, it's those guys who help us, strike at dawn, or they do whatever. Some more tiles in here as well to help you, add some variety to the game. These omen tokens, which are replaced by the kind of little plastic tokens I showed you from the deluxeified stuff. And of course, you get the new nemesis themselves. Like the Empress is in here, for instance. So new not miniature standees in here for those guys. And just, once again, lovely trays in here as well. So all your stuff can be in there. So yeah, adds another 4 factions to this. So you've got 4 factions in the base game, 4 factions in the expansion. You can just chop and change whoever you're playing, and this is definitely a game that hits my table more than you would think. Like 4X games can take a while, they can be a bit complicated. This is one I play with my non-gamer wife, and she quite enjoyed it when we were playing it, so that's always a bonus for me. The kids are a little too young for this at the moment, but hopefully at some point I'll get them onto this. And like I say, we will be covering this on the channel with more of these components, because we did it from above. We didn't really show off the lovely components you get in this game. So we will be doing it more coming soon. And I think we'll do a 2-player. I think we'll just do this 2-player and try some different faction combinations out and just have some fun. And finally, the last one they did was the Uprising Titans of the First Age expansion. I really don't know too much about this, guys, because it's not hit the table yet. I sat down and played the original Uprising and the Uprising with the Nemesis expansion again fairly recently. This is the next thing to hit the table. so I'm going to give it a go. But the expansion, the artwork looks fantastic. And you see this kind of artwork and you're like, oh, that's a new boss I'm going to have to fight. No, that's you. You're going to be the big Titan guy fighting everybody. So we get some more resources. We get some more capital tiles as well, which is really cool. Yeah, new capital tiles. So normally it's one capital tile, but this one brings new capitals, just to add a bit of additional variety to the game. So anything that adds variety to the game, a board game as an expansion is fantastic. Got some lovely pouches in here as well. Another rule book, which goes through how you kind of manage the new resource they got in here, which is called ether. You've got like an illithid in here, like one of the kind of mind flayers from Dungeons and Dragons. They've got one of these as the new bad guys in. There's new dice in here. You've got the Titans, and you've also got pirates as well. So yeah, you've got your two new factions. So only two factions in this. So you've got the Nether Sea Pirates, which are these guys here. And then the Titans of the First Age, which I don't know how these guys work gameplay-wise, but they look incredible. So we'll definitely be getting these guys out. I've yet to do the unboxing of this, so expect that on the channel at some point soon. But once again, just to show you, we've got lovely component trays in here and new dice, which they look interesting. So yeah, that's everything from Uprising Curse of the Last Emperor. Like I say, we're going to try and get this on the channel fairly soon. We've got a couple of other things lined up, but this is definitely hitting the table, and it's probably going to just be in 2-player. So I think that'll probably film best. We'll try and cover as much as we can. When we make videos, we try and think of the best way to show it off to you guys. A lot of YouTube channels will have seeing the person as well as seeing the board. You know, you see this face. And also we want to try and show you the kind of actions you're placing as well. But yeah, it's just trying to figure out how to film it, how to fit it all on the table, how to get it into shot. Lots of things to think about whenever you're filming stuff, to be fair. But yeah, an unboxing for this will happen momentarily. I'll be getting this out and unboxing this for the channel. But yeah, what do you think? Does this sound like something you'd be interested in playing? I don't know, you tell me. But yeah, Uprising is honestly in my top 10 games. I think it's so much fun. It is a game that surprises me with its depth and ease to learn and teach. You don't really get 4X cooperative games. I like 4X games. They can last a bit too long, in my opinion, sometimes. But I love 4X games that don't outstay their welcome, when nobody feels hard done by, because you're all working together in this game. You're all teaming up to try and beat the game, which is, yeah, fantastic. Because when you've sat down for a couple of hours to play a game and you're losing, some people can feel pretty miserable about that or pretty despondent. Whereas in this, there always feels like there's a way out. There's, some options for you. Even if you're not doing very well, you can start to do some quests and maybe get some items that can help you out. You can assist other people by taking out enemies that are going for them. You can manipulate the enemies in such a way that they'll go against each other to help you kind of circumvent them. It's just a fantastic game. And the way that the kind of turn structure is ordered, it does lead it in such a way that it's quite intuitive after you've played the first chapter. I feel like once you play the first chapter, you've got a good idea of what you're doing. And when you're playing a game and learning it for the first time, normally you have to do a round to figure stuff out, I find anyway. But yeah, once you've done that first chapter, I think pretty much anybody will be fully on board with what's happening, what you need to do, and how your faction works. There is a little bit of that with factions that when you first go to them, you don't really know what kind of strategy to use. But when you look at, so I'd say if you look at their board and see what resource, how much their units cost, because the units cost different things depending on which faction you're going against, you're playing, sorry. I'd say look at your faction board, see what resources you need for your units, and kind of focus on trying to get those kind of resources for your group. But yeah, the whole thing has got such a good theme, such a good like plot and lore. The food tokens in this game are mammoths, and when you first see it, you're like, oh, why is the food like big elephants? But they're big elephants because there's a huge ice age and they're the only things that survived. So of course it's like mammoth as food, which I just think is really interesting. Anyway, that's it for me from Uprising. Like I say, we're going to get this channel. If there's anything, you've got any questions about this game, or you'd like to see our previous playthrough where it was Jamie, myself, and Will, I think, played this game, you can find that on the channel. But yeah, really excited about getting this game back to the channel because it's so much fun. And yeah, it's just not spoken about enough. It's one of those games that I feel should belong in everybody's homes. If you like 4Xs, I'll say. Everyone should definitely try this game once. It's one that it's always going to be in my collection. It's fantastic fun. So yeah, that's it really. I am filming this the same day that I filmed the last Waffle Wednesday. So no updates about Kickstarter. There's no updates about the channel or anything like that. And no updates about painting or anything. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this deep kind of medium dive into Uprising, the Curse of the Last Emperor. If you'd like to see more of these, let me know in the comments below. If this is boring and you'd rather me talk about something else, like top 10 movies, let me know. But yeah, until next time, guys, stay safe. Or if you can't stay safe, then die rolling.